Hey everybody, what's going on? I am Jamie Dawn, your evolutionary revolutionary astrologer, bringing you your celestial wisdom for this week of May 23rd through the 30th of 2021. First of all, thank you for liking, subscribing, sharing, and commenting on this channel. Also, you can find me on social media and jamiedawn.com. And I am super excited because it is a big week ahead. And I am in the process of recording your monthly horoscopes for June. So those will be out at the end of the month as well to sort of prepare you for what's coming, especially because it's a big week. And we have been feeling this eclipse that happens on the 26th. So on Wednesday, we have a full moon in Sagittarius opposing the sun in Gemini. And we are working with sort of bookending, if you will, or a parentheses from the December 14th, 2020 eclipse that has occurred. So think back to some of the themes around between November, really, because as I mentioned on previous videos, we feel eclipses a month before, a month after very often, and that energy or theme can continue to be carried to the next set or stage of that eclipse. And this is the next set or the next moment because we had the eclipse in Sagittarius December 14th. This is the next eclipse in a Sagittarius. And so this is going to be at 5 degrees. 5 is the number of change, independence, communication, freedom. If you notice what's happening in the world, at least here in the United States, we're starting to feel a little freer with some of the changes that the CDC has made around COVID and mask and vaccines and all of that sort of thing. And yet there's also a freedom of choice that is popping in. And with this being in Sagittarius, this eclipse in Sagittarius, we're looking at belief systems. We're looking at dogma. If you notice, there's a lot of people out there that we're divided one way or the other, either vax or don't get vax, right? Or either wear the mask or don't wear the mask, or whatever. But it's definitely got this belief system inside of us that we're declaring and that we're working with. The other thing with this eclipse is that it's asking us to stay really curious. The sun in Gemini activates more curiosity. We've already got Mercury, which is now in shadow. It will go retrograde. I'm going to talk about that in this video because it does retrograde at the end of the week on the 29th for 3 weeks. And when Mercury is retrograde, we feel a little more internalized with our thoughts and ideas. And also, the trickster can come out, and Mercury is in Gemini, its ruling sign. So I can already tell you, I've had a shit show with Mercury in Gemini in shadow. It started the day Mercury went in shadow. So just letting you know, it's here. So keeping a sense of humor is important. But back to the eclipse before I keep going on the Mercury retrograde. And these are going to interweave together. And so we're going to be working with having this abundance of information because Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter, the planet of abundance, good luck, fortune, positivity, extravagance, right? And so it can expand our mind and it can make us get super curious. And we have this abundance of words and information and truth telling that comes in. And we know that our words create worlds. This is a huge theme for this eclipse week. Watch what you say because they are manifesting. You don't believe me? Reflect back on certain things you may have offhandedly said to somebody like, I can't believe that. So that would happen to me. Boom, there it happens, right? I do believe that good things can come to me. Here it is. The other thing with an eclipse that I just want you to put a pin on the map, make a little note of, is that not only is this a full moon on steroids, full moon being releasing and letting go, and also revelation, because the light of the moon, the moon is reflecting the light of the sun, right? And so sometimes things get revealed and we may have already had some revelations or they're coming because not everything happens on the actual eclipse day. So that being said, when there is an eclipse involved on a full moon or a new moon, but this one's a full one, It's possible that we have some sort of quote unquote fated event, meaning some opportunity, some moment of a crossroads or meeting shows up that we cannot ignore. So we have a choice point, and it's one of those, it's in your face kind of choice. And how you respond to it. Remember, responsibility is the ability to respond. We're dealing with the moon here. So very often it's an unconscious or subconscious reaction that takes place, and it's very emotional. Well, I would imagine that with this being a Sagittarius full moon, there'll be some truth telling involved, and we may not like what we are hearing or what we're facing, or as the truth comes out, as I like to say, the truth can set us free. And I would venture to say, I'm going to lean more towards the positive side of this eclipse because Jupiter is involved. Jupiter being the ruling planet. Jupiter's also in its home sign, traditionally, of Pisces in the transits right now. And so as Jupiter has dipped its toe into Pisces, I would imagine that this truth telling, this information that comes in, can give us more faith and more hope in our future. Sagittarius and Pisces are very future oriented. And so they're looking ahead and saying, here's some pieces of truth that I can use to continue to create this new reality that I'm so desiring and so looking forward. Now, Saturn has retrograded back into Aquarius now. And with the retrograde planets, let me just put another little pin on the map for those of you who are not as familiar with astrology. But retrograde, it appears as though a planet's moving backwards. It actually does not. I like to say that when a retrograde happens, the planet's influence makes it more internal because it's closer to the Earth, and we're made of Earth and stars. And so we feel the effects or the influence of that planet more internally or closer to ourselves. And so with Saturn in Aquarius, we may be receiving these pieces of information, this truth, maybe telling, sharing it, maybe letting go of old beliefs and dogma. And we're looking ahead, more future oriented. That's Aquarius. It has an idea that it says, I need to move this way in order to build a new future, because Aquarius wants to build things over time. They take an idea, though, and do it over time. Others may be the one implementing the pieces for the Aquarius nature, but Aquarius says, this is a good idea. This is what we should do. And so here we're creating spaciousness in our lives with releasing and letting go of something that no longer serves us, a belief that we held that maybe just doesn't work anymore. And we attach ourselves to a new idea, and we start coming up with ways in which it can be implemented because we have the hope and the faith, and we have new information. We have the truth about what we want, what we need to achieve that particular new idea or that particular reality. The other thing with this eclipse is that we're learning how to embrace our emotions and not push them away, to stay open-minded so that we can see the world, we can see what is being reflected back to us through another's perspective. We also have to really pay attention to when we're gathering information, because it could be a deluge of information. There could be this overwhelming sense of information that comes in because, as I said, the abundance of words that are showing up, right? And we may be seeking meaning in all of what we're receiving, and it could get overwhelming. So just keep yourself in that position of gathering information so you can view things from another perspective, which can open the mind, and then organize the mind and speak mindfully. Again, Mercury retrograde. The information that we're receiving, that we're gathering, may not always fit, or it may not always make sense because our mind may seem a little foggier. We may not be fully aware. I'll give a personal story for those of you who are still watching this video so you can laugh with me. I wasn't laughing as I was going through it, but I was laughing as I became aware of the silliness of myself in the situation. But As those of you who have followed me know, I was teaching at a workshop in Arizona and I live in Nevada. And so I flew back home on Sunday and thought that I had put my keys, my car key, my house key, all of that in my backpack. And when I got to my car, couldn't find my keys, and I'd parked my car at the airport. And so when I went into a little bit of a panic, if you will, there's nothing worse than losing your keys. Well, I shouldn't say nothing worse. There's a lot of worse things, but you know what I'm saying. So keeping up with the story, I went into a little bit of a panic going, okay, my action mode kicked in. I was like, great, I'll just have to Uber home and go in through the garage and blah, 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 blah. And so I did that. I Ubered home and got home and ended up dumping out my backpack completely on the floor. All the contents, just took them all out. And there were my keys. So I had to Uber back to the airport to get my car and make it back home. Yeah, I'm laughing. Yes, I admit I could have done that at the airport. There's a lot of things I could have done differently. But for whatever reason, I wasn't thinking as clearly as I could have. That is a perfect Mercury retrograde story. Now, am I responsible for my actions, for the way in which I was thinking and all? Of course, I'm not blaming Mercury for it, but I can tell you that it certainly did mess up my thought process. And so I was feeling, I was given an invitation to ground and really think clearly. And yeah, it was a shit show. So anyways, now I laugh and, I'm just 2 Uber rides wiser. And I say all that to keep, use this as a chance to stay curious, use it as a chance for learning. It goes back to, what did I learn from that situation? I probably should have checked my bag more thorough at the airport. All that's just a wonderful learning opportunity. Life's a grand experiment, right? And the other thing that we're going to be working with during this eclipse week and ongoing is discerning truth from illusion, because we do still have Neptune in Pisces, Jupiter in Pisces, ruled by Neptune, now in modern astrology. And so there's some illusion here that could show up, and we're receiving all this information. Mercury's retrograde, and we're trying to figure out, well, is this really true? Or is this just me making it up? Or am I just trying to drink the Kool-Aid or put the rose-colored glasses on because it feels good to me? So remember, with Jupiter involved in all this abundance, it's also possible that we could be clinging or grabbing to false hope, especially if our wounds are speaking louder than the truth. And so it's important. This is my mantra during a Mercury retrograde, and that is, not everything is as it appears to be. So if I'm asked to make a decision, I tend to say, that's interesting. Let me just have time to think about it. Let me get back to you. I'm not prepared to make that decision right this moment, things like that. The other thing that we want to do is continue to gather information before we take action. If you can push off certain things, certain new things, if you've already started the process of some documentation and signing contracts and selling homes, or going into partnership with somebody, getting married, all of that, nothing wrong with that. Enjoy. Just be prepared that during that process there could be some delays, there could be more questions that get asked, or maybe there's questions that don't get asked that should be asked, and that you'll have to revisit later on. But it doesn't mean that all hell goes to, all hell. What is it? What's my phrase I'm looking for? Everything goes to hell in a handbasket. That was the phrase I was looking for. As I could say, I'll be amused at how these videos for the next few weeks show up with Mercury retrograde, because it's wreaking havoc on me right now. Watching my words. So I'm going to transform that, as I know my words are creating worlds, and I'm going to play and have fun with these videos and let Mercury and I have a different type of adventure. And that's another good word for this eclipse, is going on an adventure. Remember, life's a grand experiment, as I keep saying, but it can be an adventure. And my experience with the airport and the car and all that was a grand adventure. And I trust also that there was a reason, there was something I was meant to do, that sort of thing. And I also am trusting that we have an opportunity this week at this eclipse, that if something gets activated for us, that we get to reestablish priorities. Let me talk real quick about relationships, because that is one of the questions that I get so often with myself and with others. And that is, yes, there is a great opportunity to have people from the past relationships come back to revisit us during a Mercury retrograde, and eclipses have a way of activating that faded or opportune moment. And so it gives us a chance to reevaluate what are our values and what are the priorities when it comes to relationships in general. And so does this person and this relationship line up with my values? And do I need to make, let's say, that romantic relationship that I've been longing for, or that has been at odds for a while, do I need to start making that a priority over the relationship I have with my best friend, or the relationship that I have with my work, or the relationship that I have with my money? Right. And so these are the kind of things that we'll be looking at and revisiting. What's really important. Also, I would say the Gemini energy is very active right now when it comes to playfulness. Am I working more than I play? Maybe I need to find that work-life balance. We have been glued to our computers, our phones, technology since COVID hit, because everything got shut down and we were forced to work online. Maybe it's time to get back out into nature. Maybe it's time to get back out into reconnecting with people in person. Yes, I can do my work. I can connect and read energy regardless of the medium, but there is something so precious and so powerful about being in person, in the flesh. There's a different energy field. Anybody who spends time observing this and feeling it, you know this. You sit down with somebody and you feel energized when you're talking with them. And could you do it over the phone? Yeah, a little bit. But when you actually get to be with them, there's a whole different, like, da, 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 da. I just feel like, the popcorning that happens. I have to joke and just say that a very dear loved one visited me back in October and met my little girlfriend. I call him my coven. My little girlfriend's here. I don't know why I called him little. Anyways, um, and the four of us, when we get together, it is like that popcorning and laughing and just silliness of conversation that happens. And he described us as 3-year-old toddlers on the playground. Pretty good description. That's also a great description of Gemini energy, where we're just like, la, 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 and you're just having fun and you're at recess and you're playing. And I would offer that use this week to, yes, take your practices, take the things that you do, take them seriously, but don't take yourself seriously. Have some fun with it. Sagittarius Gemini is great for having fun. Sagittarius loves being the life of the party. Be the life of the party. In other words, life is always inviting us to a party every single moment, every single day. Have some fun with it. So the other thing that I want to offer is that this week we're going to be asking some very important questions. A question like, am I open-minded or do I limit myself? Is the relationship with this person or this thing more important than the actual subject matter? If it is, can I let go of being right about what I'm believing or what my stance is? Can I let go of standing on that soapbox and saying, if you don't believe the same way I do, we can't be friends, or I can't work with you, or I can't be married to you, or I can't date you? Can you stand on opposite ends of the circle and meet in the middle? What's the common ground? So another question might be, what do I know? What is the truth living inside of me? And if you're not sure, taking some time out, time away from all the activity so that you can reestablish what is it that is true for you in this moment. Truth can change as we mature, as we grow, as we have different experiences. Yet, if they are living inside of us, and as we're making decisions, if we're not clear about what's true for us, if we're not clear about what we need and what we want, how are we supposed to effectively communicate that with another? Another question that we may be asking is, What makes me certain that I'm right about this? Again, it goes back to that dogma. You sure you're right about everything? You sure you're right about that particular subject? Here's the invitation. Instead of working with being right, work with what is my truth for me in this moment. And then also another question might be, how can I remain open to somebody else's point of view and gracefully and consciously communicate with them? And so again, it comes back to finding that common ground. And it isn't about softening or pretending that your truth doesn't count or doesn't matter. But it's not about conversion. It's not about pushing it onto somebody else. It's about holding that post and saying, I'm right here. If you'd like to join me, great. If you don't, it's okay. I can't make your party any more than you can make mine. So I'm just going to stand here and I'll dance and do my thing, and you do your thing. And then we can coexist. So the other thing I would say is look at that Sagittarius nature inside of you, that one that wants to stand on that soapbox, or that wants to be the life of the party, or that seeks meaning and truth and higher wisdom, and say, what will I find there? If I really sit with myself in that place, in my belief system, what will I find? And is there anything that I need to let go because it no longer serves? And so, what this does is it offers empowerment, it offers spaciousness for the universe to drop something else in. Again, with this being an eclipse, there's that faded kind of opportunities that show up that you can say yes to because you haven't cluttered yourself in your life with so much. The other thing I will offer is that what decisions we make in this particular eclipse will have long-lasting effects. Most likely, 9 times out of 10, they're pretty final. Now, does that mean that you can never revisit and redo and reignite and all that? Of course not. That's what our Mercury retrogrades are for, 3 times a year. It's also what life is about, choice, conscious choice. So of course, even if you make a decision, I'll use relationship as example because that seems to be something everybody is relating to. Let's say you're dating somebody and you decide you no longer, that just isn't going to work and you're done. Does that mean you'll never talk to them again and never reconnect and maybe never date again? No, of course not. I can't say never. But what I can say is the nature in which you interacted with that person will be complete. So if you were, for example, in a business relationship with somebody that you then decided you wanted to start a romance with, you may stop the business side and may not ever go back to that, but you get the romance instead, or vice versa. Or it could be, another example is that some of you who are in a bonded relationship make the decision to stay or go. And if you decide to leave, does that mean you'll never connect with them? No, of course not. But it just may be the nature or the form in which you're connecting changes. For instance, marriage and divorce. You may not stay married to the person, but you may remain friends or co-parenting. That is possible. I will put one small note here, just for those of you who find yourself in a third party situation. This eclipse in Mercury retrograde does have a way of revealing if there's a third party involved, and there's decisions to be made when that shows up. So please be mindful and conscious about how you navigate that. When you're dealing with something like a hidden third party betrayal and delusion and feeling like a fool and all kinds of things show up that need support, and they're real feelings that need to be tended. So please have your support group. Please walk through that as gently as you possibly can, but don't water it down or dumb it down. This is important. Remember, we feel everything. How we express it, that's our choices. And so this is the opportunity with what's coming this week into the next few weeks as more truth gets revealed, and the truth isn't always comfortable. Now, I'm going to swing back to more positivity as we wrap this up. Yes, I mentioned the Mercury retrograde, and I've laced that in a little bit through this video. I'll talk more about it in the upcoming weeks because it is going to retrograde till June 22nd when it stations to move direct. And so these first 3 weeks of June are going to have some interesting twists and turns, some tricks involved, especially because we're getting into summertime. People are wanting to travel again more than ever. It's been a very busy uptick in travel. And so stay flexible, keep, your humor about you because yeah, delays will be there. This is a perfect time with Mercury and Gemini to revisit, research all the REs, rejuvenate some of the connections and the way in which you connect, the way in which you play, the way in which you stay curious and keep your mind active, that maybe this is the time to rest your mind even. But if you are, whether you're traveling short distance or long distance, make sure that you have your checklist, and then have somebody come behind you and check behind you. That's always a good thing to do. Okay, I'm pausing for a second again, just to check in for myself to see if there's anything else that you guys may need for this week that would be useful. And that is, when it comes to communication and conversations, as I say, keep your sense of humor. It's also good to stay vulnerable and say, I don't know. I think there's going to be a lot of I don't know answers, and it's okay. You don't have to know everything. That's why there's all of us to work together. So keep using that phrase as well, because I feel as though it will go a long way. And you can follow it with, I don't know. Let me find the answer for you. Or I'm not sure. Let me see who might have that answer and get back to you. When do you need it? The answer by, right? And so I think if we can continue to keep those lines of communication flowing, that's going to benefit us tremendously throughout the next few weeks. All right, you guys, I know this is a long video. Thank you for staying with me if you have. And if not, I hope you got what you needed. Please like, subscribe, share, comment. Find me at jamiedawn.com. Right now, I have a 2-week wait list for appointments, but I would love to chat with you if you would like. All right, take care, everybody. Have a great week.